identified with the Psalms because the Psalms are not all joy, you know. There's struggle, there's pain, there's difficulty and trials.
Since his emergence on the music scene in the late 60s, Phil Keaggy has gained recognition as a world-class guitarist noted for his lyrical solos and technical precision. But as Phil and his wife Bernadette can tell you, life hasn't been without its share of personal struggles and painful loss. Pregnant with their first child back in 1975, Bernadette never expected anything to go wrong, but it did. She went into labor at 5.5 months and was rushed to the hospital.
45 minutes to an hour later, the doctor comes out and tells me that she's fine, but you've lost the triplets.
First of all, Bernadette had no idea she was pregnant with triplets, which made it even harder for them when the babies came stillborn.
It's like a dream, you know, it wasn't real. The way I look at it is God didn't cause it to happen, you know. It happened because this is a fallen world we live in. But in the process of it happening, he embraced those children and took them into his bosom, you know, into his arms.
Despite their loss, Phil and Bernadette prayed the Lord would still bless them with a family. And shortly afterwards, they were pregnant again. This time, however, the baby was born 2 months premature, weighing only 2.5 pounds. Little Ryan Keaggy was taken to a prenatal unit in Ithaca, New York.
I went up the next day to visit little Ryan, and he put his little hands around my finger and squeezing him. And his little body's breathing really hard, and he's trying to survive there. And he was just great, you know, beautiful. But then he died, and
after 3 days, he died of the hyaline membrane disease, where the lungs are underdeveloped.
Bernadette never saw her baby again.
It's like after that first experience, I kind of felt like, well, you know, things happen. You know, this is life, and everyone experiences negative things in their lives, you know, and they move on. And I think the second time around when we went through that again, I think that took me a little more off guard because I thought, okay, something happens once to you, move on, works out after that. You know, that's a very young mentality. And when it didn't the second time, I almost couldn't believe that was happening again to me. It's like, God, again?
It was a time of intense questioning and even anger, of wondering, does God even care?
Were there times when you didn't feel like praying?
Definitely. There were times when I felt very far away from God. You know, and I just felt like, especially after Ryan died, I felt like there was no connection.
prayer is just being honest with your heart and with your thoughts toward God. And of course, God as we understand him is not put off by our questions, and nor our anger or our frustration, but identifies in and with our suffering.
Bernadette's next pregnancy ended tragically in miscarriage during the 3rd month. Then in 1980, after years of praying, years of disappointments upon painful disappointments, their daughter Alicia was born. Then there was Olivia, and finally Ian, now 4 1/2. The Keaggy family is a testimony of God's faithfulness, living proof that God answers prayer.